Hello and welcome to Never on the Back Foot. On yet another episode, we will be discussing the India versus South Africa women's series that's coming up in a few days. And the BCCI, recently named three squads for the upcoming multi-format series against South Africa. We have Harmanpreet Kaur, who's going to be leading India in all of these, three formats against South Africa, and we'll have Smriti Mandhana as her deputy. So to just give our viewers a little context of the series, we have a three-match ODI series to kick off the tour. This is going to be a part of the ICC Women's Championship, so each and every match counts. And the ODI series will be followed up by a very interesting one-off test in Chennai that hopefully some of us are, waiting to watch in the stadium live. And there's also a three-match T20I series to, kind of wrap up the tour. And we have Gaurav Nandan Tripathi joining us. He is currently a sub editor and all rounder at cricket.com. Cricket is, of course, his passion. And he's also the co founder and admin of Cricket Beyond Entertainment. So don't forget to check out their content, across Instagram and Twitter. A warm welcome to you, Gaurav. And thank you to all the viewers who have joined in as well. Please make sure to, share all of your thoughts, comments, questions, feedback, insights, basically everything in the live chat, and we will make sure to kind of address it as well. So yeah, without further ado, let's kickstart our discussion. So Gaurav, being the ardent women's cricket fan that you are, it is an understatement to say that I'm a big fan of the kind of work you do, and it's really a privilege to be having this discussion with you. So yeah, what are your first thoughts on the squads announced for all the three formats?
सबसे पहले तो like I would just like to thank you for like having me on this live, and it's always fun to talk women's cricket. And with the South Africa women coming to India, it's gonna be a very good series, I feel. So it's a good starter for me as well to get into the groove of it, like read up on the squads and what all different combinations we can have. So I'm really excited for this chat, and as far as the series is concerned, of course, like it's going to be a really exciting one, I feel, because for the first time I feel we are moving away from Bombay, and we are going towards Bangalore and Chennai, and like we are diversifying our audience of women's cricket in India, just like they did in the women's Premier League this time. So like I'm more excited to look what is the crowd response in these cities, because Bangalore really showed up for the WPL. And like I went for 4 to 5 games to watch it in the stadium, and then almost every day I was like outside the stadium getting the vibe of the games, and like how was the crowd reacting to weekend games, and also the weekday games as well. So there's a very good sense of the fact that women's cricket is here in India and it's going to stay, and the fact that the BCCI is ready to take it out of Mumbai and uh, throw it into Bangalore and Chennai and let it develop on its own. And with this series coming up, I think it's going to be a really exciting series. The cricket part aside, of course. I'm looking forward to it a lot. Yeah.
Certainly, Gaurav. I mean, you couldn't have said that better, because the kind of reception that the WPL got in
Yeah.
Bengaluru was just unparalleled. I mean, the kind of work that you did for Cricket.com during, the Women's Premier League, the fan cams and everything, just gave us a vibe of how it's going to be. So I think it's a first for this series as well. To have so many matches in Bangalore, and for us, in Bangalore, hopefully, fingers crossed, we get
Yeah,
our
yeah,
hands on the
exactly.
tickets as well. And just going back a little bit, the last time India squared off against South Africa was way back in 2021. It was a very forgettable ODI and T20 series. But when you look at the team composition now, it looks much different, right? We look much
Yeah.
more equipped to handle the might of the South Africans. So what do you make of that? And do you have memories from that 2021 series?
Yeah, of course. The first memory is the fact that we had to wait so long to get India women playing, because the last time they played was the 2020 World Cup final, and it was on 8 March, if I'm not wrong, and it was almost after an entire year that after playing a World Cup final, the Indian team was ready to play a series. And because it was COVID and everything, I wasn't expecting a lot to happen from the Indian team, because we hardly had any practice and all. So and at that time the South African team was quite strong. They had Mignon Dupree, they had Lee playing at top of the order, and I clearly remember Kaap was great throughout that series. So So, and the fact that the Indians were behind practice, so that also played against India. And India had like Yastika Bhatia like playing as a new player, and then we had Monica Patel coming in as a seamer, and also, so I mean, those kind of combinations were a bit new, and the COVID factor also. So it was, I mean, in a way, expected that India would struggle to perform against a relatively stronger South African side at that time. But the tables have totally turned, you know, because in the last 2 or 3 years we have seen that there have been a lot of players who have left the South African side for many reasons, and in that same time we have the WPL starting in India, and we have a lot of development programs, the under 19 World Cup, and those are running very smoothly in the background. So what that has done is that has given India a very strong core now, and that core you can already see in the squad, and I think we'll definitely talk about it further in this live. But definitely India's combination is much better this time, and just simply the fact that like the players are in touch, the players had played a 5 match T20I series in Bangladesh, and right before that they were a part of the WPL, you know. So the players are informed, the players are in touch, and relatively weakened South Africa is coming to India this time. So the tables have totally turned, I feel, in the last 2 or 3 years.
That's actually an interesting point you bring because last time around, of course, our team composition was so different.
Yeah,
But that's the thing about time, right? It always changes, and now we see such a strengthened India squad. You have so many
exactly.
experienced players. You have players coming through the ranks from your domestic cricket and women's Premier League, which is quite interesting. And I think another observation, that I made when the squads were announced is how there was a solidified core, right, across all the three formats. You have the likes of Harmanpreet Kaur, you have Smriti Mandhana, Shefali Verma, Deepti Sharma, Jemima, then you
Yeah.
have Richa, Uma Chetri, then Pooja Vastrikar, Renuka Singh Thakur, and Arundhati Reddy in all the squads, right? So how refreshing is that to see that these players are being given the longer rope to kind of mark their presence across all the three squads, and yeah, there's no constant chopping and changing, and there is some stability finally.
Yeah, and the fact that the squad was also announced like a good 2 week before the main game starting, so that's a great news as well, because as women's cricket fan in India, we are not accustomed to seeing the squad being released like 2 days before the series starting, right? And so it was really nice to see that, first of all. And secondly, all of this is pointing out towards one thing, that they have identified that they need to have a system in place, they need to have a rigorous method of selection, a selected process that they need to follow for those selections, and the execution is actually showing now. I mean, apart from the howler of not selecting Shikha Pandey, I can't really actually find out a problem this time, and that's why you'll find that the strong core which you're talking about is present in all the three squads, and it's a clear sign ki Amol Mazumdar and Neetu David and everyone who is part of women's cricket administration in India, who have they know ki these are their 7 or 8 players. They need to keep selecting them in all the three squads. They need to take them everywhere. They need to give them more experience, and especially for someone like Shefali, who's still very young, and despite playing 3 or 4 years at the international level, she's still learning her game in each and every international she plays. So to identify that core was really key, and I feel key with players like Shriyanka and Asha and Saika coming in, that core will also broaden with time. So, and that process is already visible, because when you back the WPL performances with selecting them in the Bangladesh squad itself, it gives the player signs कि अगर मैं अच्छा खेलूंगी तो next time when there is a squad being selected, I'll be in the fray. And like we were gonna talk about the board president 11, and I'll just like talk about that a bit, because when you see players like Saika or Siley, like they are being selected in those squads, and Tanuja is being selected in that squad. So what that tells me is that the domestic runs and the domestic wickets, along with the WPL runs and wickets, like they are counting a lot now, and they are not just for the think कि मतलब उसने खेल दिया तो खेल दिया, and the selectors won't back that up. So that is actually happening now, and that is just great to see, to be honest. Yeah.
I could not agree with you more there because I think, this constant reinforcement to the players that, hey, your performances are being rewarded. You do well in
Yeah.
domestic, you do well in your WPL opportunities. The doors are very much open for you. And I think this is the first time in a very long time you're not disappointed with the squad, except, I'm glad you brought the point of Shikha Pandey. I was like, she's one player, I just don't know why is she not in the
Yeah.
radar.
I mean,
But great to see her.
yeah, and like Shikha Pandey, I think the last time also, the last two times we had this conversation on your podcast before, it was always about Shikha, ki like why is she not being selected, and the problem still remains. But I still feel ki despite that one thing, lot of things are going right, and for the first time, I feel like praising the Indian selectors. So that's a big thing, and because praising the selectors is not something Indians generally associate, because right after the squad is being selected, there's a Twitter storm each and every time. And the Bangladesh squad is one I remember. It was a very silent kind of a Twitter right after the squad announcement, because most people were happy about it. Yeah.
And as you rightly said, these are very rare signs. So hopefully, the faith that has been put in by the management into these players kind of also translates to performances. And I'm sure, we will get to see a competitive
Of
brand of
course.
cricket. And just reflecting on this point, you spoke on how there's this board's precedent 11. We'll have that tour match versus South Africa. You have such interesting names, right? You have Minu Mani, you have Shweta Sehrawat, Shripra Giri, then you have Kiran Navgire, Tanuja Kanwar, Priya Mishra, Shabnam Shakil, Saima Thakur, and Sayali Sadgare name. It is such a welcome sign. And also, just to pick your brains a little on this, it just goes to show, right, the kind of expansive talent pool that India kind of possesses, and we can easily field B team, C team on any given day.
I mean, it would be a bit of a stress to like say ki we'll find a very good B team, but apart from that, I really feel ki what they have done is that they have taken players from their own domestic structure that they used to ignore a lot before, and the under 19 pathways being set up. You just count the number of under 19 players in this board president's 11. You have Shweta, you have Shabnam, and like just एक बार मैं squad खोलता हूँ. Yeah. And then apart from Shabnam and Shweta, then you have the other youngsters like Priya Mishra and Uma Chetri. So all of these players, either they are from the under 19 pathway setup, or they have been playing domestic cricket and they have been doing well. So that's a great call. Ki it is one thing to have a domestic structure in place, and it is another thing to actually run it in a good way so that you are actually getting players out of it. And that under 19 World Cup was a boon for India. I feel like keep the winning part aside. You just count the number of players it has given to the WPL or to the domestic setup, like because uh, metric for success of a under 19 setup is that those players are going on to represent their state and zonal teams, and almost all of the players who were in that squad are playing in their state or zonal teams, right? So that's a great thing to start with. And I mean, it has all somehow like co- coincided with the appointment of Amol Mazumdar, so somehow, like, I want to give him the credit. I don't know what is his role in exactly in like selecting players from the domestic setup and all, or if his inputs are being taken on that front. But whatever is happening, like, it's really really good, whether it's Mazumdar or not, or whether it's like Neetu David, or the selection committee has finally gotten their act together. So these things are really really positive signs. And and personally, as a fan and as a journalist in the field, I'm really happy to see some like positive steps being taken.
Definitely, because I think as Indian fans for a very long time, we enviously looked at, say, the likes of England and Australia and how they treated their talent pool and how most of them were just ready to, play international cricket just coming from the domestic setup. And now I think we can very proudly say that because of the WPL, it's somewhat like a pathway transition system for most of these players to, come onto the international stage. So that's definitely a positive sign.
Yeah,
And even like just looking at domestic cricket, we have a lot of complaints with respect to, broadcasting, televising, and everything. Yet it is giving you a fodder of, so much talent and
yeah.
such potential players. So yeah, I think that is definitely something we can, take in our stride. And also, I think, again, just going back a little earlier in our conversation, you spoke about how it's a welcome sign that we have Bengaluru and Chennai, as venues to host these matches. And I think we can, call them hotspots for women's cricket in a way as well, because of the BCCI, thinks, hey, we can actually host some of the matches here. That's, again, a great thing. So, what did you make of it? And slowly, do you see this expansion happening, to more centers in India, and hopefully the WPL can also see like a home and away system sort of thing, or is it again a bit of a stretch?
Yeah, and I think if you see what Arun Dhumal and Jesha were saying like right before the WPL about the home and away format, they told that like the challenges to actually have it in different cities were a bit much for them at that time, because like they were swarmed with the World Cup like right before that, the ODI Men's World Cup. I'm like talking about that. So right after that, I wasn't expecting the home and away format to be implemented from 2024 itself. But after the success of the Bangalore leg, and how Delhi finally showed up towards the knockout phases of the WPL this time, so I feel ki there is a lot of hope, and not only Bangalore and Chennai as we talked about, because these are again like metro cities, and there is a very big cricket loving audience there who wouldn't mind seeing a women's match or a men's match. For them, cricket is cricket, right? And those people will always show up to the game. Like their numbers may be in a few thousands only, but that amount is a big number for Indian women's cricket any day. But what I would love to see after the Bangalore and Chennai thing is that they should also start expanding to other metros, other like tier 1 and tier 2 cities within India, like try to go to Surat, and try to go to Lucknow again, and try to go to Indore or like Gwalior or Chandigarh, like Mohali. But because there is an audience which is developing slowly, and once they see that the cricket is happening in their own city as well, so they'll be forced to come out यार कि मतलब कुछ तो हो रहा है, मतलब मैं मतलब जाके देखूं, because India men, they hardly play in the smaller cities, because there are so many international stadiums in India right now कि you are start for games for most of the season. So even a Indian women's game being held there, like it will make for something for the stadium authorities, for the state authorities to work towards. And again, like that has to be followed with good administrative measures to make sure that the audience are coming to the stadium. Just hosting these games in Bangalore and Chennai won't bring the people. See, because the WPL has its own fan following because of the teams, right? And but with the Indian women, you still have to do a lot of groundwork to build that fan base. So just shifting the cities won't work, and they'll need to do the administrative work, and also slowly start moving out to different regional centers, because if Uma Chetri can come for Assam, I totally believe ki, there would be some people who would love to watch a women's cricket game in Guwahati. So yeah.
That's very true, actually, Gaurav. And hopefully, the right measures with respect to marketing and advertising is taken, because Bengaluru, we have seen the kind of reception through WPL. Chennai will be a new, and apparently they are hosting a women's test after what, 1976. So it goes to show, right? After so
Hmm.
many years, we finally see the return happening. And let's move our conversation to the one day internationals as well. So here I think an interesting pointer is how we have new inclusions in the form of Dayalan Hemlata and Priya Punya headlining it. So what did you make of their inclusions, and happy to see them featuring?
Yeah, I mean, with Hema, I'm always very very happy to see her play for India, because when she scored that 70 odd against MI, I think in the in the WPL, or it was UP or MI. Like, I'm not sure about the team, but that 70 odd just told me ki she's ready to play at 3 for India. Because she was coming down the track, she was hitting spin, but with such clarity of thought, and also the execution was so on point. And it's very very clear that she's a very good hitter of spin, and we saw that in the Bangladesh series as well. And the selectors, they knew ki uski ye ability hai ki she can come out and hit spin, and when she started hitting that against Bangladesh, it just proved them right. So with the World Cup being in Bangladesh as well, I clearly see India using Hima at 3 in case, either as a floater, or if an injury occurs again in the like the top 5 batters, or something. So with him, I am really really happy to see her play in that fashion, because we all know ki she has the power, she has the game. It's just about going out there and performing for her now. And the other player you were talking about, Priya Punia, I think like she has been selected as a backup opener in the squads, but what I feel is that she still has a strike rate problem. The very issue that uh, got her dropped from the side. And it isn't the case in those last 2 or 3 years. She has totally taken the domestic circuit by storm. Like she clearly wasn't our best batter in the Indian domestic cricket, like whether it's red ball, the recent series, or the 50 over tournaments or the 20 over tournaments. So that's why I feel if you wanted to have a backup opener for any of your squads, S Meghna was the right candidate for it. Because she already made like a lot of runs in the WPL. She was striking at almost 114 at an average of 34. So it clearly makes the point ki Meghna was ready for your 2020 or your ODI squad for that matter. So I'm a bit dicey about Priya Punia's selection, and I feel that S Meghna would have been a much much better option, to be honest.
Fair enough. That does make sense. And just dwelling into this point a little bit, when we were talking about Dayal and Hemlata, now if she becomes your number three, where do you slot in someone like a Jemima Rodriguez? Does she become your number four, so you have a stable middle order there somewhere?
No, I mean, for me, Meghna is always a backup opener. Ki in case Shifali is going through a bad run of form, you can always get her back in the side. And currently, Yastika is also, I think, not in the scheme of things, because she's going through an in injury at the time. So when she's back in the squad, you'll already have a backup opener in Yastika. So that backup opener slot is again a product of Yastika being injured. So that number three problem in my head, it won't come that way. So yeah.
Yeah, that again, makes sense. And Rishabh, we will address your questions, when we come to it, when we come to the test part discussion. And yeah, I think it's also another good thing to see how we have back-to-back, assignments. You have the WPL, the Bangladesh tour, and now this home series. So at least, heading up to the World Cup, it's not like there's a huge vacuum of, not having series as well, right?
Yeah. And this was one thing what the fans and the people in the field, they wanted to see ki at least we don't have to wait 2 or 3 months for another series to happen. And while the WPL was taking place, this was my biggest concern. Ki before the Asia Cup, like we hardly had any series planned, but
Exactly.
the BCCI got the job done by having a 5 T20I series in Sylhet, where India will play their group games in the World Cup. So that's the best kind of a prep any team can ask for, and the BCCI might it finally showed up for Indian women's cricket as well. And with the South African women also coming, you have a multi-format series, and what I really liked is that they are backing Test cricket as well. So when BCCI secretary said like last year, I think they will start having more more red ball games for India. So they are actually backing up their promise or their statements. So that's great to see, because having these multi format series is essentially very very crucial, because what you see is those players developing in those four in those 4 day games, because
True.
we because we just saw how good a bowler Pooja Vastrikar can be when she focuses on good line and length. The way she got like Nat Silverbrunt out, the way she got Perry out. I mean, those gems, like I sometimes dream of those balls, bro. They were so good. So and it showed us कि मतलब अगर वास्त्रकर वैसा कर सकती है, then other players who keep playing the longer game, the 3 day games at the domestic level as well. So that backing will also come, and the domestic में red ball games तभी होंगे जब तुम international में खेल रहे हो उनको, because then only it makes sense, right? So I really I'm very happy with the fact that we don't have to wait for that long, and also the fact that these are multi format series, yeah.
Certainly, and with the BCCI taking the forefront, to kind of preserve women's Test cricket, because right now it's just played amongst the big three, but hopefully it kind of expands and a lot of other teams also, kind of get that opportunity, is something as ardent fans we can hope for. And just continuing the discussion on domestic performances getting rewarded, we saw how the likes of Radha Yadav, who had a very lean 2021-22, just went back to domestic cricket, put all her energy into getting the best kind of cricket, has been selected. Then you also have the likes of Asha Shobna, dream WPL, nothing more to say. You also have Shriyanka Patil and Saika Ishak, included in this ODI squad. I think it is clear, right, that the WPL performances have gotten rewarded, and great showings in domestic cricket is also, a way to just kind of make your presence felt in the team.
Yeah, and apart from the names you already talked about and them being selected, what was great to see is that age barrier thing, if the player is above 30, they are not good for the international side if they haven't made the debut pehle se hi. That was great to see, because players like Asha, they have so much to offer for India. I mean, just see the hunger she has in her eyes when she bowls. Just see the passion she has. So that was very very nice and like heartwarming to see for me, and uh, apart from all those players, I think uh, arun Arundhati, like her selection is also very very good, because she has been very good for Kerala, and her average is around like that 24 20 26 runs mark, and her and she's giving you almost one wicket every 2020 game that she's playing, and she repeated that same level of her game in the WPL as well for Delhi. The she has a very similar average in the WPL and the 2023 and 24 season for Kerala. So it just shows that the selectors are seeing if those players are backing the domestic run with the WPL game, which they are playing along with many international stars. So that player has quality, and that player has hunger as well, because we know how good a player Arun Dhati can be, so it's great to see, and also the fact that she's a pace bowling all rounder, and we have a dearth of them in India. So I'm very happy to see that the selectors are finally trusting their pace bowlers as well, and we are not only like a spinning country.
That's actually so true, because I think a lot of people were disappointed that, hey, Tita Sadhu was not selected. But just look at the pace reserves. We have Renuka Singh Thakur. She stepped up beautifully in Bangladesh after what was a very lean WPL. And having the likes of Arundhati Reddy and Pooja Vastrikar certainly, bolsters that pace bowling reserves we have. And,
Yeah,
I'm
and
sure.
yeah, sorry, just to cut you there, and I mean, if you also see the board president side, you have Shabnam, and you have Saima also there, and Siley also bowls pace, so it's not that key those players which are in the board's president 11, they are not good enough to make the Indian side. I really feel that someone like Saima Thakur is a potential India pace bowler who will play at least, like, if she's fit and the selectors back her a lot, she is gonna play a long time for India. So, and I'm really happy that someone like Shabnam is also given that trust. So it's not that we only have Renuka and Pooja. and like just like abhi tumne bola, so we have at least 5 or 6 good pacers in the ranks, and they can come at any time. And the fact ki Pooja and Arun Dhati and Saili also bat, so that's great. And I'm not counting Shubha here because she's only part of the uh, uh, 4-day game squad, but like Shubha can also bowl pace, so that's great to see for me.
Certainly, and somewhere, we can see how the Indian team is going the Aussie way, having a lot of like all rounders and, people who are just not specialist batters and bowlers, which is
Yeah,
a
exactly.
great thing, yeah, considering, how cricket is moving now. And another thing that I actually wanted to discuss about was Uma Chetri, right? Now, she's someone who finds a name across all the three squads, which is just amazing. And good
Yeah.
to see, right? Another keeper being groomed and someone who can be an understudy to Richa Ghosh.
Yeah, and like just like they started playing Ghosh like when she was only 16 years old, so they have started trusting Chetri the same way. And it's not that Chetri is coming off a mountain of runs in the domestic circuit. It's just that the ability to like keep striking, keep that intent high, and keep looking for runs. The selectors saw that in Uma, and they have been selecting her for some time now. She was a part of the India A and the England team, which played that three T20I series, I think. And also the fact, we have players from the far east of India, from Assam coming, with like otherwise the and otherwise what you see in men's cricket is that only someone like Parag is there. But in women also, now we have Umar Chetri, who is part of the Indian squad, and we also have Jintimani, who plays the WPL. So that is very heartwarming and great to see, because those regional centers are now producing India level players, and it shows that the system on the ground is doing its work. At least at some level, it is doing its work.
Exactly, because now we see one or two players cropping up. I'm sure, in the future, we will see a lot more players kind of coming up, and the domestic circuit also becoming quite competitive. Because I've,
Yeah,
heard conversations of players, they're like, Northeast zone to hum log aasani se jeet lenge. But now you will
jeet
actually
jayenge.
see competition coming through, which is amazing. And also, Gaurav, to just pick your brains on the batting side of things, you have Smriti Mandhana, Harmanpreet Kaur, Shefali Verma, who are, going to be definite starters. But I think the batting would also be solidified, right? Because of the return of Jemima Rodriguez. I think a back injury kind of ruled her out of that Bangladesh series. So it's really nice to see her back in the India Blues as well. So how do you assess her presence in the ODIs? Because I feel her game is kind of tailor made for the ODIs as well. If not for T20s.
Yeah, yeah.
And in the WPL as well, she did kind of up the ante with great performances. Strike rate and everything. All these discussions just kind of vanished, right? So, what did you make of her batting?
I mean, for me, Jemima is the fulcrum of India's batting across all formats, and it's not because she bats at three for us, it's because of the kind of a batter she is. Like, if she manages to survive those fidgety first 10 balls, she is gonna make sure ki she is in rhythm and she keeps the runs coming, because she is a very busy like she is a busy batter that way. And and also the fact ki what happens with Indian batters in general, ki as soon as the power play is over and the spinners come in, the intensity of run scoring drops off. But with Jemima, what you actually see is that she has improved her spin game a lot, and she is hitting those runs down the ground as well, which she wasn't as adept uh, as she is now when she started playing for India. So there is growth, there is hunger, there is passion, and there is technique. Like Jemma has one of the most beautiful technique I've seen for any Indian batter, along with Harman and Smriti. Like it's just this. So definitely Jemima's return will not only like bolster India's side, but I surely feel ki if she keeps batting in the same vein, uh, even a small out of form phase will not deter her from being like one of India's best batter of all time. So Jemima is like a potential India great for me. Like she's just so good.
Yeah, man. I mean, she has the pedigree and everything to, kind of scale those heights. And I think after
Yeah,
Mithali Raj's retirement as well, I thought if someone can fill those big shoes of Mithali Raj, it would be someone like Jenny. At that time, she was really young. So, it would take her time to kind of settle in. But now I see, she can don that role for India at, say, number three, number four, and really step up and kind of deliver as well. And,
yeah,
again, just delving deep into the squad for this ODS, you have the likes of Yastika Bhatia, then Harleen Diol, Amanjot Kaur, Mannat Kashyap, Sneh Rana, and Tito Sadhu, who have been overlooked, right? Now, again, we don't have the exact picture if it's an injury or like a fitness issue that has, contributed to them not getting selected. But what did you make of it? Like, did you see it was a problem? Or, I mean, we do have the right replacements in place, but sad to see them kind of miss out.
I mean, yeah, of course, because like with someone like Sadhu, you want her to play each and every series that India plays. But and even with Harleen, like after that spectacular catch she took, I feel ki her career has like just dropped off in a very like striking fashion. But what I feel about these people is that ki they might be injured, because again we don't have a clarification on that, so I'm using the word might there. But like I don't see much problem, to be honest, because the squad is good, and it's not like someone like Yastika or Sadhu have been dropped. Like they will definitely come back to the side once once their injury or whatever they are going through is like sorted out. So it's not a big concern for me as of now.
Fair enough. And also, before we move on to our test side, let's, pick an ideal playing 11 for the ODI. So, what would your ideal playing 11 look like?
So again, I mean, it won't be very different from what the generic template India has. So I'll start with the Shefali and Smriti. I'll bat Jemima at 3. I'll bat Harman at 4. Richa at 5. Deepti at 6. Pooja at 7. And apart from that, I think at 8, because I think Aman is part of the squad. Just let me just check the
No, no.
ODI squad.
Amanjot is
No,
not
no,
a
no.
part of
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
ODI.
Sorry. Yeah, so like after number 5, then I think I would definitely give a chance to Arundhati there, and that she would come at number 8, and then I would have Shriyanka Patil, of course, there, and so that makes 9, and then the other spinner I would pick is Radha Yadav, of course, and then Renuka Thakur. So that would be my team for the ODIs.
It does sound perfect on paper. I mean, there's so much batting depth, and all of them offer that
Number
bowling
9,
option as well.
yeah,
That's actually pretty cool that way, and great playing 11 pick. They're quite similar to the one I had, but yeah, again with Deepthi, I was thinking of batting her at say a number 7 or 8, because I do have those strike rate issues as
yeah.
well.
So
But yeah,
with like Deepti, Shriyanka, and Pooja, and Arunadhati. So these 4 batters I would keep shuffling ki
ah,
according to the need of the team. Ki agar jo zarurat hai, so I can send someone like Shriyanka up the order, because I saw many videos of hers where she's practicing like down the ground hitting, and which was great to see ki she knows where she wants, where she needs to get her game up, and she's working on exactly that thing. So that's great maturity from the youngster, to be honest. And so again, those 4 I would keep shifting here and there depending upon the need of the team.
certainly. And yeah, Gaurav, that does conclude our discussion on the segment for the ODIs, and let's move on to the tests. Right now, again, very interesting picks here, and probably that's why we can pose Rishabh's question of is Priya Punya a worthy selection in the test squad? Because again, she hasn't really played that well for North Zone in your senior women's interzonal multi-day trophy. I wish there could be a shorter name for that, but we remember the red ball tournament and she didn't have the best of the returns. But again, it's a very small sample size. We're looking at just one match that North Zone, 2 matches, yeah, basically just 1 or 2 matches that North Zone kind of played there. So do you think she's just coming in here as the backup opener and may not immediately slot herself in?
Yeah, and like again, Priya's selection is a backup for Yastika, I feel, because Yastika was part of the test squad when India played England and Australia in Bombay. So again, Priya is someone as a backup opener, and again I'm a bit dicey. Ki, is she really your best backup opener if Yastika is not there? I mean, just look around. There are so many better batters. I mean, if I have to select someone as a backup opener for India, Poonam Raut is the first name. Like she's still so good. Like, and she scored very well in the Red Ball Trophy. So Priya Punia again a dicey selection for me.
Certainly. And I think what I see as a positive here is that the fact that we have so many alternatives in place as well. When you said S. Meghna earlier, we have Poonam Raut as well. These
Yeah.
guys are scoring just so many runs in domestic cricket. Hopefully, they can, break the door open for selection, especially in tests or so. And that, kind of brings me to Shubha Satish, right? I mean, currently she is just being looked at as someone, who can perform great in tests. And to her credit, she has actually done well, right? Especially in that match against England, where she was one of the top performers. I would have loved to see her against Australia, but an unfortunate injury meant we couldn't see her. So, what do you make of Shubha Satish's technique and another great find from our system?
Totally, and like with Shubha, what you see right at the moment she takes her stance, she has such a stable base at the crease. And with Indian batters, and especially the top order batters, technique is more or less never a problem, because our ground basics, the way we teach batting in India, is so technically solid. So that head aligning with the bat, the feet moving along with it. But what I was more impressed to see in when she played England spacers was the fact that she was ready to take her time, ready to grind it out, and that test match mentality was already into her, despite not playing those red ball games for I don't know how long, you know. And the technique to like mind her off stump. That's the most basic thing you have to look in red ball cricket, or to be honest, any form of cricket. And Shubha has that spot on. But also the fact that when she starts attacking, she doesn't keeps it back. She keeps giving it. She keeps giving it all in each and every shot she plays, and she looks to maintain her shape also. So you have all the basics you need for a very good test number three, according to me. And having seen her perform for her state side in the domestic circuit, like the way she plays for Karnataka, I totally feel that she can play the ODIs also for India, and that's why she was part of the WPL as well. So someone like Shubha is a multi format player, and her technique is a multi format technique, according to me, because it's so simple. Like Virat Kohli ki technique itni achhi kyun hai? Because it's so transferable all across formats. He can bat at 150 strike rate with that technique, and he can grind out an entire session in a test match. So Shubha ki bhi technique वैसी ही है. I mean, I'm not comparing their techniques, but I'm saying कि they are in the similar vein, they are transferable across formats.
True, and muscle memory, as they say, is very strong for this. For Shubha Satish, we've seen the kind of runs she has piled on. But my only, concern is I hope they don't typecast her as just that test player, and don't give her a
Exactly.
run in other
Exactly.
formats. And perhaps this is where your domestic cricket kind of comes into play. If she can play, all those T20, T20 encounters and one days, there is a lot of potential for her across different formats as well. And another observation from our test squad is how best mates Sneh Rana and Meghna Singh are, in the mix for this format. We've seen, how well they performed. I think it was against England in 2021 and even in the recent tests as well. So great thing to see, right? That they're still in the mix, if not, at least in tests.
Yeah, I mean, like for someone like Sneh, she has been so good, and Meghna, I'm happy that she's part of the mix. But again, for me, she isn't a like the top level of a pacer which we see, which India needs, to be honest. But in lack of other options, or the stubbornness of not selecting someone like Shikha Pandey, we have to like keep selecting Meghna. But I don't mind her selection, to be honest. And she is a very accurate bowler when she is actually hitting those line and lengths. And she was great in England, and with the fact you said ki Sneh and Rana, sorry, Sneh and Meghna are such good mates. I really don't want to see their cringe reels, bhai. Matlab, like I want to see them perform for India. Lekin those reels are sometimes too much to take for me.
Absolutely. And I thought I was the only one who was thinking that. But thank you, Gaurav, for echoing similar sentiments. No disrespect to them and no judgment. But
Yeah,
then,
yeah,
yeah,
of course.
sometimes it gets a lot to digest the kind of reels. But again, when we look at the spin bowling reserves of our test side, we have Saika Ishak and Rajeshwari Gaikwad, who are back as the main spinners. And they'll definitely, bolster the attack. There's no doubts about that. But great to see them again make the cut.
Yeah, and there has been a method to the way India has selected their white ball and test spinners, because with the test matches, what you see, they are going for more accurate bowlers who can actually turn the ball a lot more. So as Snake gives it a lot of loop, uh, Gaikwad gives it a lot of loop, and with someone like Saiga, I feel she'll find it a bit hard to make the squad, make the final team, because we also have Deepti in the mix. So India generally goes with like three spinners there. So Sneh, uh, Gaikwad, and Deepti would be my three spinners for the test match. But again, like I'm happy that Saika is getting that nod, because she has the talent, she has the game to actually perform well in red ball cricket as well, because she's accurate, she can turn the ball, and she has that speed which makes the ball skid through the surface as well. So in places like Bangalore, if there is not a lot of turn and there is that early morning moisture in the pitch, her balls will actually skid a lot. So again, like those three selections are spot on for me.
Certainly. And just looking at the names who were overlooked here, as you were answering the question, I was like, how it would be to see someone like Poonam Yadav, donning the India whites and just spinning the ball, even Ekta Bisht, Gauhar Sultana. These three names don't make their presence across any of the three squads. So I'll, probably get your take on that. But even Shreyanka, Asha, and Radha Yadav are not a part of this test squad. So do you think it's again the right move? And we're kind of focusing just on the strengths of Rajeshwari for this format, and the others are more suited for white ball. What do you think?
Yeah, so like if I begin talking about like Ekta Gohar, so it's a clear case that India have clearly moved on from them, because what they see is that they need to invest in a lot more youngsters, and with the white ball format, what you need is someone who can bowl quick, like in the spin department, and they can keep it tight, but also you need a variety in your attack. So along with your quick spinners like Shriyanka or Saika or Deepti, sometimes you also have someone like Radha who flights the ball a lot, who keeps bowling it like she's a smart bowler, so flight and guile and turn is not her only weapon. She, like we saw in the Bangladesh series and in the WPL, she was trying to bowl a lot more wide and trying to follow the batter, trying to keep the ball away from the bat. That's why she was so successful in the Bangalore leg of the tournament. So with Radha, Asha, Shreyanka, Saika, one thing you spot on, one thing you spot first of all is the variety. Left arm spinner, a leggy, and off spinner who drifts the ball and turns the ball, and then a left arm spinner who's a bit more quicker in the air and skids the ball as well. So those are the kind of skills you need in a white ball format. You need different kind of spinners who can turn the ball away, who can turn the ball in, and who can also make the ball skid. So that way the selection has been spot on for me. And with Gaikwad, it would have been again more of the same type. And what and because she was competing with Radha, who also gives you much more in the field and with the bat, and like her overall passion and everything, those vibes for the game, I mean, I'm not counting that, so those things, I think Gaikwad was undone by the fact that she was competing against Radha, who is in probably the best form of her life with the ball.
Right. I mean, those were some tricky selection calls, but let's see, how this playing 11 kind of picks itself, so to say. But before we move on to the T20 side of things, Gaurav, what is your ideal playing 11 for this one-off test?
I think my Gyara is very similar to what India played for England and
Australia.
the Aussies. So I would again open with Smriti Mandhana and Shefali. I would bat Shubha at 3, Jemmy at 4, Harman at 5, Richa at 6, and she's my keeper, of course, and Deepthi at 7, Sneh at 8, Pooja Vastrkar at 9, Gaikwad at 10, and Thakur at 11. Renuka Thakur at 11.
Yeah, that's perfect. And again, a very competitive playing 11, because so far, we haven't seen the touch wood, no jinxing here. The
Uh,
Indian test team hasn't lost a test match. We have seen a lot of draws and everything. So hopefully, we can put up a good show versus South Africa. And we will talk about South Africa too a little later on in our show. They've had very mixed returns. So that will again make for an interesting discussion. But Gaurav, let's move on to our T20 side of things, right? Here again, we see a lot of interesting names, and some names who have been given that longer rope from the Bangladesh tour as well. So let's start off with Sajna. Right now, she definitely, undeniably, has to be the best find and greatest find from the WPL. So how would kind of gauge her growth and performances lately? Like in the Bangladesh tour, it was thoda upar niche ho raha tha,
I
but
see.
still, if she gets that longer rope and more opportunities, we can see a lot more from her, right?
Yeah, and with Sajana, what you have is that she has the power and she has the striking ability to hit down the ground. She has that power hitting technique, and because she is like such a big unit, so she packs a lot of punch as well. Like in her shot, she has a lot of those kind of big shots in her armor as well. And but what I felt in Bangladesh was that she was trying to hit the ball too hard, and she was trying to go after the bowlers, and her approach was a bit frantic according to me. She was not in her like the most calmest of her mind space, if you would call that, and I really think if India keeps backing her for say one or two more series, give her more games and give her those entry points where she can come and make those late impacts, those say 10 ball 20s or those 15 ball 30s, which would actually propel India's score, because most of the time we see ki India settle around that par score, that 140 mark. But if you want to be in League of England and Australia and beat them on a regular basis, you need those 170 scores, and Sajana is someone who can give you that. And we should not forget ki she's a very good spinner as well, and she's not that kind of a spinner who's very a big turner of the ball. But what she'll do is that she has that uh, ability to keep it wicket to wicket and make it very hard for the batters to line her up and hit her down the ground because of her the height she delivers the ball from. So Sajana is again a player I would definitely have in my squad, and I'm really looking forward to see her better her game than what she performed in Bangladesh, to be honest, because she's totally capable of batting much, much better.
Definitely, she has the potential, and as you rightly said, if she's given those right entry points, I think we can see a lot more from her, and much
Yeah.
more faith from the management. Hopefully, no constant chopping and cutting will really give her also that confidence. So, fingers crossed to see how she kind of progresses. And another name that I wanted to talk about was Amanjot Kaur. Right now, she finds herself in this T20 side of things. She was in the Mumbai Indians camp, but did not get a lot of opportunities there. I mean, she was in the playing 11, but we saw, how Mumbai has this certain set of players who perform, and the rest of them are just, making up that playing 11. But so far in her India outings, I think she has been impressive, right? In that Australia series, I know she had a tough run. She's getting hit by those Aussies. But otherwise, how would you, kind of assess her presence in this T20 side of things?
Again, India has never been able to use her in the right fashion, because either she doesn't gets to bowl her quota of overs, and or either she bats too at number 8 or number 9, and we all know that she's capable of hitting those 15 ball 25s and like saving India in some crucial game if needed. But then again, you have to give her those spots, you have to make her play. And it's a it's an irony कि India have the batters in the team, but they can't get them to bat because their batting lineup is too long now. And for making Aman bat, you have to bat her in the top 7. And I don't see a way कि India can find that, to be honest, because with Shriyanka also coming in, you also want to give her that chance to like get into the groove with her batting as well. So Amanjot, again, I really want India to use her more smartly. If they want to like make sure ki she develops into a player and she develops that confidence to deliver at the big stage. Because come the final, because come the semi final, if India is 5 to 6 down, she can save India, and she has that batting ability to save India. So it's all about giving her those chances to perform. Yeah.
Honestly, I agree with you that she's grossly underutilized, or not used in the right time frames for India as well. And even that reminds me of Devika Vaidya, man. Like, she just kind of has disappeared into the oblivion. I mean, came with so much potential, and we have seen her perform well for India. That WPL, I think 2023 also, she was one of your costlier picks, and suddenly she's just disappeared from the scene, no?
Yeah, and again, it's a case of players, those India players getting hyped up in the WPL, because it was clear that she's a good leg spinner, and she was coming off in 2023 after a very good domestic season as well. But her game tapered off a bit. Her leg spin didn't had its zip, and her batting again didn't had that power to give India the trust to make her bat in the top five or top six, where she was capable of putting some impact with her bat as well. So Devika Vaidya is again a case of a player being overhyped and not giving the right chances, and then again being thrown out without much explanation. But I am happy to see that like she got married abhi just kuch din pehle, I think, which is a rare thing for active India players. So that's a really good thing to see, and big congo to her and her partner.
Certainly. I mean, I was quite disappointed that she, didn't make the cut for WPL 2024 or any of these India squads. But I think the women's Maharashtra Premier League, she is one of the captains for the side.
Yeah.
So quite excited to see how she fares there. And let's also take this quick question from Surya. He says, "Hey, just tuned in. Not sure if this point was covered earlier, but what's your take on Deepthi not batting in the Bangladesh series? A sign that her batting is being seen as a bonus now, Gaurav?"
I think it's a case of that, and like Surya very rightly pointed it out, but it's also a case of India having too many options, because that
Exactly.
Bangladesh series was also a chance for India to give batting opportunities to Sajna, and like making sure ki Shriyanka also gets some chance, but I don't think Shriyanka also batted a lot, to be honest. So it's a mix of both, Surya. I feel ki ek to matlab India see her batting as a bonus, of course, because her bowling is the one thing which India needs. They keep bowling her in the power play and at different phases of the game, and the fact that her finishing has been a bit dicey in the past, but this WPL she was so good. So again, I would see ki India should give her more chances, but again, where and when, because there are other players also that you want to develop. So with Deepti Sharma again, I don't want that situation to come ki she's batting at number 7 in the final and she's tasked with saving the game for India, because if
Yeah.
she's not given those chances in the beginning, she won't be able to do it. So this South Africa series, if not in the T20Is, I at least wanted to get some batting in the ODIs for sure. And even in the 2020s, like if possible, India should give her those 10 to 15 balls at the back end to make sure that she gets into that zone of giving those impactful finishes, because there is no way they can bat her in the top six. There is no way that she can be a top five batter for India. So, I mean, that is her place to bat, number 6 or number 7. So, make sure ki if there is even a small amount of chance, get her to bat there.
Yeah, and I mean that is a fair point, but somewhere I did have my concerns with her finishing ability, so I'd see her probably come in at that 7-8. But I think this also takes us back to her earlier point. If you have the likes of Pooja Vastrikar, Shriyanka Patil, and Deepti Sharma, occupying those 6, 7, 8 positions, we
Hmm,
can probably just use them based on the situation. Like if a lot of wickets fall, you can
absolutely.
probably have Deepti come in earlier. So let's see how the Indian management kind of works that way around. And Surya also adds absolutely, and it's better to try her batting this series, say, than directly at the World
Exactly.
Cup.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Yeah, and like with Deepti again, in a T20 game with the World Cup coming in, she would be such a good batter to just see off 2 or 3 overs, see off some overs in the middle phase when the spinners are operating, and just make sure that she's getting those singles and all. Because if India loses say 2 or 3 wickets in the power play itself, and you need that batting lineup to be prolonged, Deepti is one of the best batters to come and make sure ki she stays at least at one end, bats at run a ball, and allow someone like Richa or someone like Pooja or someone down from down the other coming up and hitting those big runs. So India need to be very smart in the way they use Deepti. She can be used in multiple roles, but again, it's all about giving her those chances. And she is a batter who likes to bat a lot. Like she was batting in the top order in the 3 day domestic matches. So it's very clear that she really values her batting, and I would even go on to say she's a bit selfish about her batting as well. She wants to keep batting, keep batting, keep batting. So for someone who loves batting that much, India needs to give her those chances. कि भैया दिखाओ आके कि तुम क्या कर सकती हो. Yeah.
Certainly, and looking at her domestic returns as well, she's often used in that top order, sometimes as an opener as well, which draws in a lot of ire from fans. Like, why is she opening? She has that concern with strike rate. But if the WPL has given us any indication of where her strike rate is headed, and she's also awarded most valuable player, I think we should give her more chances with the bat. But perhaps after that sixth or seventh slot, just used as a floater in case we lose a lot of early wickets, and you need someone
Yeah.
to kind of stabilize the situation. And again, just looking at the Bangladesh series as well, India had a great run, right? Raking up, good totals, chasing it down, whitewashing Bangladesh 5-0, where we've seen some teams like, oh yeah, that's men's cricket. I was almost going to say something, Australia struggled, but Australia also had a very good run in Bangladesh. But what do you make of these great performances in Bangladesh? And India is looking in good stead, right, ahead of this all-important T20 World Cup?
I mean, they have the players in place, they have the squad in place, and the selection has been really good about that. And what I really liked seeing was that they were making sure that someone like Sajana also gets her chances in the Bangladesh series. They made sure that when Jemmy was injured, they gave chances to Hema to bat at three. So with these players getting those chances, I feel that they are moving towards the right direction. And I really feel those 5 games at Silhit, wherein like those 5 games will help us a lot when the group games come, because India is in Group A and they play almost they play all their games in that stadium itself. So they know what the pitch like, they know what kind of score they need to get, and they probably also know what kind of a team they need to select when the first game comes. So I mean, things are definitely moving in the right way, I feel. But I would
Yeah.
be very uh, cautious in putting where would India end up, as like if they would reach the semi-final, or if they would go on to win it, or they are the favorites to win it. But India has the spinners also, so I am very cautiously optimistic about it. देखते हैं अभी क्या होता है.
That's the perfect way to be, because seeing, how Australia has just been the dominant side, they are winning almost everything under the sun. I think this is one more they would, add to their crown. But again, let's take each match as it comes. And right now, the focus is the South Africa series. So yeah, let's not get ahead of ourselves there. But Gaurav, let's just also look at South Africa, right? The kind of returns they've had in the recent past hasn't been very inspiring or something they would derive a lot of confidence from. Let's start off with that Australia series where, they kind of struggled a lot. Then came the Sri Lanka series where, again, they had a few losses here and there. So you have Laura Wolfart right at the helm there. She's leading your test team, the ODI team, and possibly even the T20 team, right? So how do you assess her captaincy style? And do you think it has come at a wrong time, because South Africa is going through this whole transition phase? They've lost a few games. So somewhere, you're still confident in her captaincy abilities?
Yeah, so I mean, she is a very new captain, and I'm not exactly sure if the plans and what South Africa are doing in the field are dictated by the coaching staff, or if it's like Laura who is making those calls at the moment. But I always think what kind of a person you are shows in what kind of a captain you become, and with Laura, she's a very astute person. The way she thinks about the game, and her like refrain ki cricket is a funny game. Like like it's just not a simple statement. Like she's actually thinking about the game, and she calls it funny because she knows it's unpredictable. And when it's unpredictable, you need to have a calm demeanor and have that mentality of controlling the things you can control. So with Laura, I'm like happy ki South Africa have finally seen ki someone like a Sune Lees is not the right person, or maybe because when Laura is the best batter, the best performer of the team, and she's carrying that team throughout, and people may forget ki when Chamari scored that 190 odd, Laura also scored 100. She
High
batted throughout
scoring.
the innings.
Yeah.
Yeah, so her batting has gone a level above ever since she has become a captain. So that's the great thing for me. Ki she's taking it in the right way. She's very positive about it. You know. So why yeah, and with the team, I feel ki those early retirements from the game have really hurt uh, South Africa, and also their cricket. South Africa hasn't managed their women's team well at all. That entire Danewan episode where like her fitness was questioned, and I mean when someone is such a good batter and such a good bowler, like why do you need her to run like 2 kilometers in a particular amount of time? Like where in a cricket game would you have her run two kilometers in one stretch? So I mean those kind of calls, and then players like Lee, like they have left the game, and she was such a big hitter of the ball right at the top. And Tasman Brits is good, but she's not that quality, man. And what you have that in the middle order is that like people like Lees, people like Annike Bosch and Nadine de Klerk, I mean they have a lot more responsibilities now to make sure that those collapses are not happening, because Sri Lanka was able to win because once the openers are gone, once Laura is gone, essentially like their batting lineup plummets for me, because they don't have that substance, that meat in their middle order to those keep batting uh, throughout the 50 overs, or make sure ki they are getting to 140 in a T20 game. And when they'll come to India, to be honest, I don't see a drastic change from the way they were performing in those last few series, because again like they have a few injuries in the middle and they have a good bowling attack. But again, I'm not very optimistic about the way that team is growing. They have a good captain at the helm, but that's about it at the moment. Like cricket, South Africa really needs to like get its act together in handling the women's team.
Exactly, and this is in no way a reflection of Laura Wolfart's captaincy, because she's come in
Yeah.
at this time which is extremely challenging, and it's more of the players and the kind of setup that they've built. But South Africa certainly does not have a dearth of talent. It's just about managing it, which I think the administration can do a much better job about. But again, just looking at the squads they've picked for the Test and the ODI teams as well, South Africa, will be without the services of Lara Goodall, then Chloe Tryon, and even Ayanda Luby. So they are, recovering from injury, and they won't be able to offer their services for the series. So again, it's going to be a massive loss for South Africa. And before the series starts itself, it's a big jhatka, right, for their prospects.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why I pointed out key players like Sunil Lees and Declare, they need to get their act together in the batting order. I don't have much problem with their bowling. They are a decent bowling attack. They have Khaka, they have the other spinners along with it. They have Clash, they have Malaba. But what they need is that they need that solidity. They need that fight in their middle order to bat throughout the innings. See, if it's fine if you are not able to score 230, 240 each and every game. But what you need to make sure is that you are giving yourself that chance. And that's where I want someone like Tasmin Brits also to get more consistent in her run making. She clearly has that ability to go that long mile, hit those big runs, because she was a javelin thrower in the past. She was going to the o- o- Olympic games and all, but like her her runs haven't come at a good pace, or they haven't come in a consistent fashion. So Tasman Brits and Nadine de Klerk and Sunil, like these players who have been around the squad, who have seen the South African team right from the beginning of this phase, and they are seeing it now also. So they need to pull their act together and make sure they perform to their potential, because this team is not bad. It's just that those runs need to keep coming at a consistent pace.
Definitely. And I think it's about time, your senior experienced players really step up and kind of deliver,
Yeah.
set an example for those youngsters coming in as well. And perhaps this series will give them a good indication of where they're headed, because the World Cup is going to be in similar subcontinent conditions. So, might as well figure out your squad composition and playing 11 as well. And before we, conclude our discussion, Gaurav, I'll just take a quick word on you from the series prediction, right? I mean, I'd say I'm expecting, India to just walk all over South Africa, a series whitewash, perhaps. But, I would still consider South Africa will give us some fight in these matches. But it looks like India has the edge, or am I again, just thinking a lot?
No, no. I mean, I totally feel ki if there's anything less than a innings victory in the test match, I would be seriously disappointed, because it's Chennai, and I don't expect the match to last beyond like the second session on the third day. That's it for me because I don't see this South African team like having that a spin playing game to continue, because India has very good spinners, and with the T20 and ODIs, I feel South Africa have the team to win at least one game in each of those two series. But then again, if India perform to their potential and the way they have been going around like in the last few series, they should uh, do a proper whitewash here. But again, I personally want South Africa to at least win a few games so that they don't go without anything from this series. They are a good team. They are in they are through their path to becoming that stronger South Africa what we used to associate in say like a few years ago. So I'm a bit hopeful about the chances, but not totally optimistic of giving them a chance of say winning the series or like even winning more than 2 or 3 games in throughout the 6 matches.
Definitely. And let's take a quick few comments before we close. Surya says, India definitely are the favorites here. I hope the decks in Chennai are on the slower side for the T20s, considering that's what they could get in Bangladesh. Here's the hope, right? I mean, if the IPL matches have again given us a trailer of sorts of what to expect, we can have that, right?
Yeah, and but the thing is, ki with the World Cup in mind, Surya's point actually makes a lot of sense. If you have slow pitches in Chennai, they won't mimic what happens in Bangladesh, because the slowness of that track and the slowness of this track is very
Yeah.
different. It's a red soil pitch in Chennai, so I would want India to like build those slow decks in Chennai, because I want India to try and score 140, 150 on a consistent basis, and even take that score to 160, 170, because that will make sure कि no team apart from England or Australia can try and come close, because the Kiwis are not as good as they were at one time. Like, and and with South Africa being in the state it is, like India are easily the third best team. But then again, they need those 20, 30 extra runs. So it's a good time for them to make sure they get into that mindset that they have to score 20 runs above par. And Chennai is a great deck for that.
Definitely. And Surya also adds that not getting ahead of myself, but the test could easily be Marizan Cup versus India. So, Gaurav, maybe your innings victory might be a little difficult to secure, but Marizan Cup, I can't believe we haven't spoken about her. She is a world class bowler across formats, and I think we have to dedicate an entire podcast series to Marizan Cup, right? What a player!
Totally, and the way she went around her business in the went about her business in the WPL, it was just so good to see. And I saw her from the stadium. Like, there is zip in her ball, ki when she pitches is on the pitch, it moves, and the batters are not exactly comfortable by while playing her. And even when they are hitting their shots, It's more of a, they have to put that extra effort, that extra amount of concentration to play her. And as we have seen in test matches before for South Africa, she has been the lone saving grace, you know. So again, I totally expect her to be the only one. But then again, the pitches will turn a lot. The pitches, and India has some really good spinners. So they have the bowling to get rid of Carp early, and I believe ki India will get rid of Carp early uh, because like the bull because playing in Chennai is a totally different thing than playing a test in, say, South Africa or Australia for that matter. So yeah, like it can be Cup versus India, but I don't expect it to even last more longer than. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, let's hope and just wait to see if we get to see that competitive brand of cricket in South Africa puts a fight. Marizan Cup, there's just so much excitement for the series, and yeah, Gaurav, that pretty much does conclude our discussion as well. The fact that we're such confident Indian fans, just being like India best team and हम लोग South Africa को ऐसे ही हरा देंगे. It's a lot of progress from 3 years back. So kudos
Of
to us for
course.
putting this much confidence in our players. And yeah, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you, for joining me today, Gaurav. I didn't think the conversation would go on for this long, but it was really fun. I
Yeah.
enjoyed each and every minute. And here's hoping our viewers as well kind of enjoyed it. They asked some really lovely questions. And let's support our Women in Blue. The series starts from the 16th. Please make sure you catch them live. On your TV sets, so if you directly go and watch the matches in the stadium, I think Gaurav will definitely try to, watch the matches from
Of
the
course.
stadium. I will also. So yeah, that's the hope. And we will be doing live shows like this, guys. So please keep tuning in, share your thoughts, suggestions, feedback, and make sure to follow Never in the Back Foot on, all of these social media platforms. Follow Gaurav on Twitter. Man is very vocal, gives amazing perspective. So make sure you, kind of follow him as well. And yeah, guys, that's all for now. Take care and bye for now.
Thank you, everyone.